Good evening. My name's Rodney Glover. I am running for governor for Florida. One of the things that is important to me right now that I need to point out is that we are missing all of our young people in this room. They're not here. It's not for lack of trying. It's of lack of access. Florida's Constitution, Article 1, Section 1. All political power is inherent to its citizens. Yet why do you not feel empowered? That's where our youth is right now, trying to figure out where they're going to get the power from and if we are going to present a future that's worth them showing up for. That's why they're not here. They have complaints, and it is this room, it is this generation that needs to figure this out. Now, if all political power is inherent to the citizens, this is Florida Statute 100.361. It does not give us the access to hold any state legislators accountable. It only allows us to hold our county commissioners accountable, our mayors accountable. But the people who make decisions day to day that create the environment for why our youth don't show up, we can't touch. I would ask, but I did this evening. I asked a lot of people, hey, what is the one statute that could help every single person, no matter what your problem was? And no one knew that answer. But it was 100.361. It's the one statute that doesn't allow us to hold lawmakers accountable. I'm 43 years old. The state of Florida and multiple states that don't allow us to hold lawmakers accountable have gotten this wrong for 43 years. I joined the Navy at 17 years of age, and I had to sign a document that said, if you don't tell the truth, we will remove you from the United States Navy. I asked to be governor November 2023. Not a single document said I needed to tell anyone in here the truth. Not one. Right now, one of our biggest issues is that we cannot vote on more pieces of legislation. If we can't touch the legislation that's touching our youth, if we can't touch the people who are touching the legislation that's touching our youth, how can you tell your children that you are trying to guarantee a better future for them? If you have not addressed that you cannot hold the legislatures accountable, my entire campaign is to put a system of accountability in place so that every elected official is accountable to the people who put them in office. And there may be people who do not want that to happen. I have been up and down the state of Florida. I can guarantee you that there are people who do not want to be held accountable by the people they're asking to vote for them. Most legislators, unfortunately, did not know, for whatever reason, that 100.361 is available. So what are they telling the youth? Make phone calls, turn in, or email. It's not changing. 2025, we lost 34,336 of these homes that were bought up now by private equity companies. Who's homesteading in the state of Florida? Who's getting them? If we just lost 34,000 this year alone, we lost 3,224 as of March. The numbers are climbing. We have a serious problem that we do not have access to because we cannot hold by law those individuals who make the laws accountable to the people who are complaining. This to me is the number one goal. But a lot of people have told me, hey, no one cares about these statutes. How can you not care? How can you not care? I can tell you right now, if you have a child that is coming up and they say, hey, dad or mom, I cannot afford rent. Do you know that in 2023, we passed Senate Bill 102, which says we will never, as a state, address rent control? How many of you were asked to vote on that to ensure that your children would never have an opportunity to even address rent control? How can we stand in front of anybody and tell them that we're going to do something good and have a law that doesn't hold me accountable to my word? I do not want any citizen to believe in me. I need you to believe that there is a system that is in place that is bigger than the person. We are trying to put a system in place that is going to hopefully, after time, start to evolve. It needs to evolve. State of Florida has amended our Constitution 144 times. 144 times. Our Constitution is a living, breathing document. And I have been really studying it. Ladies and gentlemen, since our Constitution's inception, this is the United States of America's Constitution inception, we have been amending this to meet the times. To meet the times. February 3rd, 1870, we met the times when we gave Black males, this is important, we gave Black males the right to access the Constitution. February 3rd, 1870. The 14th Amendment was the first time that we stated that the Constitution of the United States of America was only for males. You can look it up. And the word male is still in the Constitution. It wasn't until 1920 when we needed to meet the times that we gave women access to the Constitution of the United States of America. We're asking you, our young people are asking you to help us meet the times. That's what we're asking. That's why they're not showing up. We do not want to go to war just to meet the times. We've already seen that. We don't need civil war to meet the times. We need this group in here to want to pass down a system that is going to be beneficial later. It's not going to be immediate because we're 250 years old, still trying to meet the times. We just have to ensure that we give all of our young people the access to do that. Every single problem that is here today, whether it's the lack of concurrency that she mentioned, which is literally House Bill 702 passed in 2011. Every single problem we have is because they do not ask to expand democracy and give the same people who put you in office the ability to back you when you get in office. I want to change that. I want to ensure that if you come up with one of these bills, that you need the backing of the state. These are state legislators. Why don't you have at least 51 minimum % of the state that is in agreement with what you want to do? You should not be waking up saying, oh, they just passed another law and Lake County is going to have to figure out how we're going to get funding because they didn't include us in this conversation. We need to create a structure that is going to benefit the future of Florida. And Florida's got to, because I'm here. This is why Florida has to, because I'm in the state of Florida. If I was in the state of Mississippi, I'd probably be there running for governor. Doesn't matter where I am. Florida's got to set the tone for showing the world that we need to meet the need of our children. We need to meet the need of ensuring that we are passing down a functional constitution, one that citizens know can and will be changed. Every state legislative job in the state of Florida comes with exactly what their requirements are. The only one that's missing is the one for citizens. It simply says all political power is inherent to the citizen. Yet, when a bill gets passed and citizens start to complain, where is your political power? Are you all just being asked to wait until this person gets out of office so you do not have to rehire them again? We need to change that system. We need to amend that system. That system needs to be reformed. We need to expand democracy, if not forever, at least for a period of time, to let the adults fix the problems that the adults created. Because the kids are going to come up. We are globally, we're $39 trillion in debt as of yesterday. Our kids are going to foot that bill. The $608 million that we paid for Alligator Alcatraz, that none of us voted on, whether you liked it or not, doesn't matter. The federal government has still stated they are not going to give us that money. So that's coming out of all of our pockets. Take that back to, or correlate that back to, the families that just lost, the 34,000 families that just lost their homes. Not to mention all of the, what we used to call the starter jobs, all of them going away. How are these bills going to get paid without raising taxes on the current workers? This is why it is a current problem that we all need to figure out how we're going to pass this down. I am asking, when I'm talking to young people, they're all saying the same thing. What does it matter? Because we have allowed legislators to go unchecked, because we didn't get involved enough to know that we could not touch our legislative individuals by way of statute 100.361. Individuals ask me all the time, well, can we lower taxes, or can we? You can't help me, because we never created a way for citizens to back the things that they want. It's never been created. This is such a beautiful concept of political evolution that we have an opportunity to be a part of. And it took me 22 years to get out of the United States Navy and ask a question. Why are you civilians so upset? Because I was separated from the day-to-day tax problems. I was separate. I mean, when you go on deployment for 8 to 9 months, you don't spend money, so you come back with all this stuff. We didn't have the day-to-day problems that civilians were dealing with every day. But when I came back and I asked, well, why can't you fix this? What's going on? And they realized, oh, you guys have the same problem that young sailors have. You have no access to the people who make the rules. Why not if you're taxpayers? Now, I understand in the United States military, you have to make rank, you get in the room, you get a say-so. You turn 18, you can vote in the United States of America. It's a constitutional law. So why do you not have access to hold accountable by state law the individuals who make the laws? And you have to ask every single Floridian in this state why you never asked to hold them accountable. Why every time I voted, I never asked to hold them accountable. Why every time they come up and they tell you that that they're gonna do something, they never say, and oh, by the way, this is how you hold me to my word. Every single person should have been asking that question. Why didn't it get asked? What are we passing down as far as, are we teaching our children how the Constitution works, how the state government works? Why are our kids not asking, hey, mom, hey, dad, how come you can't help these people? Or how come this problem isn't getting fixed? Specifically, why you can't do it? Because that's where it's at. When you start to make it more personal, which is exactly what I'm asking when I ask you to expand democracy, it's a lot more personal when you have to put your name to why you don't fund something in Lake County. It gets a lot more personal at the round table when you say, oh, by the way, I didn't tell my friend here that I voted differently than them. Things get a lot more personal, but that's what's necessary to create that family or familiar type of environment that we need today. We need accountability. We need control as citizens. What I should be doing for you is providing you the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how. What we call that in the military is the bottom line up front. When you get that, that should at least answer all of the upfront questions that you need. When you want to go in depth, hopefully there are others who can open up an actual bill and start to explain to you that language. I have to create access while simultaneously educating our youth up to the point of legislation. It has to be done at the same time. We don't have youth participating because they are saying, what's the purpose? 1008.25 is our educational statute in the state of Florida. Most counties out here, oh God, most counties out here decided that they would only give a student 50%. What are we doing when we lower our standards and then have an expectation that these young people are supposed to be meeting a standard that when we wrote 1008.25, we're told by educators that it will lower the standard because now you can show up and do absolutely nothing in school and get a 50%. Why would we allow this to happen if we believe in one another, if we are still pushing to say that, hey, you need to go to college, you need to get certified, you need to get educated. But when you get in front of this group of people, they can't help you. I don't want that. If you're certified, if you're educated, I need you out here. And I need people who are listening to you to tell other people to listen to you, because that's how we're going to figure this out. But the access is important because right now, legislators don't feel the weight of citizens. They don't feel the weight because you can't recall them. But if you could recall your legislators, if they didn't vote the way you wanted them to, that starts to put the weight that's necessary. Everyone who runs for these offices needs to feel the pressure because you're asking for a job to represent thousands upon thousands of citizens. I don't want you to have an easy 4. I need you to feel a hard 4. Those sailors that are out there right now that are complaining, they're being told you signed up to feel the weight of what it means to follow orders and protect the United States of America, whether you like it or not. The weight's there. These officials who run for office, they're signing up, but they don't have the weight of the citizens on them. Not until election year. And that's when they want to start telling you how hard they're fighting or how pressing the job is. They need to be able to know that at all times you are beholden to the electors. You're beholden to these individuals who put you in this office. And that if you take your foot off that gas, you will be removed. I do not want any more elected officials to not feel the weight of the state of Florida. Because right now, we know that because of 1008.25, we are going to graduate adults into our system. And if you didn't know, you're going to know this now. You do not have to be able to read to cast a ballot in the state of Florida. This means that if you can't read, you can definitely be negatively influenced. And that's a huge problem. Because when we get these ballots and they're full of ballot initiatives and you don't understand the words on there, and there is nothing that's bringing together this herd immunity to help us understand, there isn't a ballot party so we can explain these things. It's just not happening. If we don't create the education system, if we don't create the camaraderie statewide, and that's done by structure. That's not done by hope. It's not done by believing in people. It's done by structure. We have been moving along the way we've been moving along as the United States of America because of structure. What we are recognizing today, a little more than probably wanted, was how disassociated to those who make rules we actually are. In the state of Florida, I'm pointing out the statutory disassociation. You're not going to find a candidate, because I've looked and there are 29 of us running for governor in the state of Florida. Not one candidate is running to give more access to them by way of accountability to citizens. They're running on every problem that the state created. That's what they're running on. And you do identify with that. Absolutely. You want better jobs. You want lower insurance. You want better property taxes. You want concurrency back. You want more protection. You want water conservation. How do you hold them accountable to the promises made? If we don't put the right structure in place, then what are we leaving the next generation and the next generation and the next generation? I don't know if I'm doing enough to plant the proper seeds, because it is difficult. It is the most uphill battle to ask citizens to say, hey, I know you got problems, but your biggest problem is you lack the ability to hold me accountable. That's your biggest problem. Citizens are saying, no, I'm hungry. That's my biggest problem. You're going to stay hungry if you can't hold me accountable. You're going to stay homeless if you can't hold me accountable. You're going to stay jobless if you can't hold me accountable. I need to fix the structure. And that's the only thing I knew. Military taught me for 22 years to solve the problem at its core, root cause analysis. And you come up with a root cause solution. Our root cause solution is to be able to hold every elected official accountable. Now, does that mean immediately that every citizen is going to use their recall authority? I can tell you right now, probably not. Florida Statute 98.065, it's the inactive voter status. It meant that any person in this room who ever received anything from the Supervisor Elections Office and you did not respond, you are now in the system inactive. Doesn't mean you're not registered to vote. It just means that when you sign those petitions in the back and they go to turn those in, when they put it in a system, it'll say inactive if you never sent it back in. Now imagine how many young people that aren't here today that got that sent out that are inactive and don't know it. This is why when you do those petitions, the best thing for you to do is take it in on your own. Because right when you go into the Supervisor Elections Office, they make you validate your address right there on the spot. This automatically updates your activity status in the system. If you didn't do it that way, if anybody's ever had you sign, you never get a notification from the Supervisor Elections Office that you are inactive. They've been fighting this in court for quite a while. But you're still going to be inactive. We have a ton of structural issues. But the number one that I need to touch, that any candidate that you are thinking about, the number one thing is, how are they telling me they're going to let me hold them accountable? I'll tell you right now, I'm looking at our county commissioners. Statute 112.51 allows the governor to remove your county commissioner without having to ask anybody that put them in office. And they got two reasons they can do this that I know are it's neglect of their duty and incompetence. I've met plenty of incompetent people that I would love to take out of office. So imagine the leverage that you have to go into office with to know that you can be removed. Imagine the weight that carries to know that he's not, or whoever sits in the governor's seat doesn't have to ask that question. I want to reform 112.51 to simply say that if I choose to say that, hey, you are neglecting your duties, because I'm definitely not going to call you incompetent, because I'm calling everyone who voted for you incompetent. That first off, you need to ask the county that hired them. 51% of you need to say, I understand what you're saying, and you are right. We can start the recall to remove this person. That's too much leverage to give to the people who are trying to help you. If they don't do it, if they're not in line with maybe somebody who's not trying to help you, I guarantee you the governor is not voting down here in Lake County to find out who's going to be the mayor. This is happening in the state of Florida already. It has happened. And I don't know why people aren't bringing up these statutes. I am. I tell more people about the rules that are in place and why we need to have this access to hold elected officials accountable. This is all 120 House of Representatives, all of our 40 members that are in the Senate, up to the governor, need to be able to be recalled. There's no one that should be above citizens as a collective. That's how I view democracy. But until we get that power, until we elect people who want to be held accountable, not just in word, but in the system, until we get that, either no one has any problems and everything is great. And if it is, let us all know what you got going on. But I guarantee you that those 34,000 people that lost their home in 2025 and the 3,222 that already lost their homes here now, they're saying that there's a problem. I don't know how many people knew this, but the property tax here, homesteaders get a 3% break. But what they did on top of that was they popped in this other called the Welcome Stranger Tax, Statute 193.155. Property taxes reset to full market value when a home is sold. Buyers pay an average of $167 more in property taxes than the previous owner. That is all of us who are not homeowners. I don't even know why we put the Welcome Stranger tax in there. It is definitely harmful in our economy today. They updated it in 2026 and made no changes. Just want to be clear. We're not fixing problems. And you're allowed to do this because you're not accountable to the citizens that by word you say you represent. Because no one has been able to tell me how you can hold them accountable. Now, county commissioners, you can recall them right now. You just do a petition, start a recall, got them. But they're not the ones who pass these bills. They're the ones who are going to fight to try to get you funding after these bills are passed. Try to figure out what they're supposed to do if they have access. But if you push too hard, you may run up against a governor that exercises 112.51 and removes you from that office and installs someone that is not going to push as hard and never have to ask the people who put them in office in the first place. Ladies and gentlemen, as a candidate for governor, I'm asking you to allow us the ability to create a system for our future, not for today. The problems of today, they're going to be there. We need to make sure that we put something in place for our future. Don't be upset that young people are not involved. Put the system in place and we will figure out, we will continue to push to get them involved. It will not happen immediately. And that's not what we're asking for. But there needs to be a system in place that holds every elected official accountable. And if you didn't know that, you need to decide today what you're going to do with your newfound information. Because just having the information, but not having the ability to do anything with it is useless. So if you find a candidate that you like, that is pushing for accountability, listen for 100.361. If you've heard candidates at any time, listen for 100.361. If you're not hearing it and you still elect unaccountability, God help us all as we continue down this road that we're all going down together. We're all headed in the same direction. Some different lives, but we're all headed there together. So I'm really pushing to ask citizens, if there is one thing that you can change that can touch any issue in the state of Florida, it's being able to hold every elected official accountable systematically. No more phone calls. No more emails. Recalls. Put the weight of Florida on our shoulders and ensure that we're going to do the job that we said we're going to do. I could have definitely spoken to every sector in the state of Florida. But it's important for you to know that in order to get into this office, I only want in if citizens want to control their elected officials. I do not want to be a part of a state government where you do not want to control your elected officials. I'm very clear on that. That's why I don't ask anyone for your money. I'm actually trying to see where you are. Where is your morality? Because we can't govern that. We can't govern your integrity. So I need to know if citizens want the control over their government. Because I'm raising kids with this message. And I need to make sure that other people are saying, hey, we just lack access to hold you accountable. And that's what we really need. We don't need promises. You're degreed. That's great. How can we hold you to your word? That's what is important to me. It's the most important nugget that I have. I promise you, when we have the conversations, you can ask me about every sector. I'm going to give you the statute that governs it because I've done the research. But the problem is never that. It's not that, oh man, we got somebody that's intelligent. That's not enough. Can we control him? Can he be? How can I leverage your citizens' political power against corporate finances if I don't give you power? That's the only way I was able to answer the question of, hey, Mr. Glover, if you run for this office, will you not take corporate money? How can I leverage? What can I do to ensure that citizens have a way to go up against corporate? Spread the wealth of power. Expand democracy. I don't have another plan. If we can't expand democracy to ensure that when things go bad, the majority of the people in this room can send it back the right way. But right now, if things go bad, there's going to be 61 House of Representatives that pass a bill and 21 Senate members that pass that bill. The rest of the 22 million estimated citizens in the state of Florida get no say so. It doesn't make logical sense to me as taxpayers. So I'm never going to push for it. So it's not that I take zero donations. I just ask that, hey, if you sign that form back there, you take it in person and you turn it into the supervisor elections office and give me a chance to ask every candidate that makes it, how are they going to hold you accountable if you're going to make these promises? And I can just tell you right now, I don't know if another candidate is going to say that, oh yeah, by the way, because if you're not trying to be held accountable from the beginning of your campaign, I'm pretty sure you're not going to push to make these changes. Now, if anyone asks, well, what is your plan? I have a very detailed plan on my website. I only just get 20 minutes. And it's a lot of reading. It really is. But we're going to look to implement a lot of things that make things easier. I'm going to implement technology. I'm going to allow for you. I have a structured plan broke down. When the commissioner wants to do something, you all are going to get a notification if you live in Lake County. Commissioner would like to do this. She needs X amount of support to bring that bill to the floor. That's how serious I am about putting structure in place. Before we see a bill before they bring a bill to the floor at legislative session, 51% of our state would have already seen that bill and okayed that bill to go to the floor. I'm going to prioritize citizens first because Article 1 of Florida's Constitution says all political power is inherent to the citizens. I needed to create then a structure that makes sure that you get to use that power. I will create a structure and I will expose every single person because I need to know who's going to stand up and say, absolutely not. And so do you. You know how many people you voted for that say, no, I do not want you to have power over me. So we can just get it out the way. So now we can figure this out. Well, I guess you're not going to get that vote. because that's all we can do right now. But if you give me your consideration, you are ensuring that we put a structure in place not for today, but for the future. The same way our predecessors did. It hasn't always been great in U.S. history, but they stepped up to meet the needs of the times. When I don't see young people in these rooms, I'm telling you that the people in the rooms need to step up and meet the needs of the times. Because I don't know how we're going to get them here in this capacity. But I do know that for some reason, they're all asking, are you mad enough yet? Wherever that's leading to. God help us all, wherever that's leading to. And I am pushing to all these young people. Don't get so upset that you want to burn it all down when we have the avenues to create reform. We have the ability to reform. No need to burn it down. Just reform it. Just make the changes. And then I'll know if we have a water crisis that 51% of Floridians decided to say, hey, this is very important to me. Year 2000, I'm on the USS McCluskey in the middle of the water with a desalination system that can turn salt water into fresh drinkable water. But yet in the state of Florida, we couldn't figure out how to build a pipeline to the ocean, put in a desalination station to turn the ocean water into the water needed to cool off these giant server farm fields. Instead, we took fresh water, and now we got these water crises popping up all over the state of Florida. Give me a break that we're not smart enough to figure this out. We are smart enough to figure this out. It's just, can I give you the who, what, when, where, why, and how, and give you the access to back me when I bring up a really good idea that we have the technology for. This is what it means to ask you to consider voting not just with your party lines, but voting for our future. I'm non-party affiliated because people hate party people. If you're Republican, the Democrats hate you. If you're a Democrat, the Republicans hate you. And independent non-party people just somewhere in the middle hating both just because you're registered. I just want to give us a chance to let the smart people come up with really good ideas. And there are a lot of smart people out here. I just want to give us an opportunity to say, hey, when your kids come home and they look at you and they say, hey, mom, hey, dad, what did you do? Hey, I voted to make sure that we did not take your fresh water away. Here's my name right here. You also are going to have that access when you turn 18 because I did that. That's it. That creates something that they're missing right now. We can't have accessible conversation. Not all of us. If you're a billionaire, you can definitely do it. But if you're not, if you're on the latter end of that, you can't have accessible conversation to say that you actually did something. And I want that presence at home. I want that presence to be able to say, I made sure your future was good to go. And I want to know, I tell people all the time, I may not live long enough to see the fruits of that evolution. But I can't imagine the way family looks when you do something good and you can say, because of this action that I made, and this is why I made it. It's just the level of education. It's one of the most beautiful things ever to me. When I'm sitting down talking to my kids, they always look bored because I'm always full of information. But it makes you feel good to say, hey, here is an idea that's going to be great for your future. And I help put a system in place where you can take charge and make sure that if something ever goes wrong, you have the access to fix it. That's all I want to make sure, is that citizens always have the access, the systematic access to solve every issue. Our Constitution and our state laws, they are living, breathing documents. Let's touch them. Let's continue to touch them. Let's not Let's not let our Constitution just be this historical document that we keep referencing. If the times need us to change it, which they do, then it's time that we get access. Because United States Constitution, Article 1, Section 5, it only allows Congress to hold themselves accountable at the federal level. But in the state of Florida, we send 28 congressional members up to the federal level. If I give you access to recall any one of those 28 members, I guarantee you that if the state of Florida, per se, does not want you to vote for or against a bill, you're going to think real hard about whether or not you're going to lose your job before you go against the will of the people. And I want a system that backs the will of the people, whether you all are good or whether you all are bad. I just want to make sure that the will of people is seen in our government structure. I appreciate your time this evening. Welcome for any questions. Thank you very much. And next up is Commissioner Williams. David Williams. Thank you very much.